24 hours is a long time to spend in a hostile environment, especially with constant reminders of the afterlife lurking near. Watch these YouTubers try to brave a day with the unknown and see if you can determine whether it was the supernatural or simply their imaginations that led them to their breaking points. Number 10. Sam, Colby, and Nate are preparing to sneak into an abandoned jewelry factory and spend the night. They trek through miles of wilderness and eventually reach the old gray building just before the rain starts. The three of them get a weird feeling as soon as they set foot inside.
That was not a raindrop or a footstep, that was a voice.
Watch this part and tell me if you think they created the banging noise.
Oh yeah.
Nothing much else happens for a long time, and it's starting to look like this 24-hour challenge could be nothing special after all. But then at around 5:30 in the morning, they come across some strange instructions written on the wall.
Turn back. Turn back.
Oh, there's another door over there.
Oh my God!
Dang it!
What the? Go!
Something slams the door shut, and the three friends all scramble to the roof of the building. It's a half hour of waiting before they feel safe enough to climb down. Only Sam, Colby, and Nate will truly know if this video is paranormal or not, but I'd like to hear your best guess. Number 9. Chris Condon and his friends go to an old mental hospital to spend the night on a dare. This location is a little different than the others on this list because it's rather well known and has become somewhat of a party area for high schoolers to hang out in. With this in mind, it's no surprise when Chris's group comes across some other random people who want to join. By midnight, the group is pretty large and everyone seems to be getting along well. They set up a tent and prepare to spend the night making new friends. A few hours later, they wake up to a huge blaze instead.
Hey, the fire department's on its way.
No.
Be quiet, guys. You can hear it.
It's full, buddy. Full.
Police are outside arresting everyone who leaves the building. So Chris and his friends stay put for a while and then barely manage to sneak away. At times they are surrounded by pitch black and are too afraid to use their lights. They're almost caught multiple times and ultimately never return to the location again. My biggest question now is what actually caused the fire. Number 8. Vija Ma is taking the 24-hour challenge in a haunted house that burned down 10 years ago, claiming the lives of an entire family inside. All throughout the night they feel nervous and on edge, as if they're being watched by something that does not appreciate their presence at all.
No, I heard something in there.
Despite feeling persistently watched, the two friends manage to fall asleep for a while. Then this YouTuber is suddenly awakened by his friend, who claims to have heard something.
He was asleep, bro. I just heard a massive bang, so I'm gonna see what it is.
Vija Ma looks really tired and worn down during this scene, which makes me think it could be real. They're checking out the room where the noise was coming from, when suddenly they feel like they're being watched again.
That's probably the gas thing.
What the was that? Alex?
It could be the camera lighting, but I feel like I definitely see a shadowy figure retract into the doorway as soon as they turn around. Watch this part again in slow motion and tell me if you see any strange fluttering movements in the doorway. The cameraman bravely goes into the room where the shadow last retreated and finds a very tiny unnatural doorway leading to who knows where. At this point, they've seen enough and quickly exit without completing the challenge or finding out where the narrow entrance goes. Number 7. A YouTuber named Doritos Reaction is doing a 24-hour challenge in a relatively normal-looking hotel, except it's supposedly haunted by the spirits of numerous children. Now, while wandering around the hallways late at night, he wants to see if the rumors are true, and apparently he gets his wish.
Was that kid? Was that a kid?
Dorito manages to catch the dark silhouette of a boy running down the hallway at full speed. Notice how the boy's footsteps don't make a sound as he sprints away. Dorito rushes back to the elevator, only to find the doors opening and closing on their own, so he takes the stairs back to his room instead and doesn't leave for the rest of the night. I think this may have been one of his friends pretending to be a ghost, but then again, I'd like to get your thoughts. Number 6. Hey It's Liam is a British YouTuber doing a 24-hour challenge in a local abandoned sanatorium. He and his friends climb through an open window and waste no time exploring a series of long interconnected hallways for whatever they can find. The floor is covered with scattered papers. It's definitely creepy, but they decide to press on. They venture downstairs and find lots of graffiti on the wall, strange messages like "don't listen to the voices" and "how long will they keep me down here?" It's unclear whether or not these words were written by patients before the facility closed down. Now midnight is fast approaching and Liam hears a noise nearby. They bravely go to investigate as a group, and this is what they find.
I don't know what. Too long. We have to get the out.
A door that was open moments ago slams in front of them. Then, as they are trying not to panic and decide what to do next, a scream interrupts their thoughts and sends them fleeing. Let me know if you think the scream was real or edited. Number 5. D-Master Flex is camping overnight in a haunted cemetery. They get bored and let their guard down long enough to play a game.
What the? What the?
Yo, hold on.
The tower of Jenga blocks collapses seemingly all by itself. The tower was clearly built on a level surface, and there appears to be no strong winds to blow it over. I guess it could have just been a string, but if not, then this incident is almost certainly paranormal. Number 4. Kevin LaShawn and his large group of friends feel fairly safe doing a 24-hour challenge in a mental asylum that's supposed to be haunted. They aren't expecting to find much, and for a while they don't. However, 2 experiments stand out in particular. First, they invite the ghosts to play a game of cards with them by setting up flashlights in a semicircle. The flashlights stay turned off during most of this experiment, but they do seem to repeatedly respawn when one person in particular comes to the table. Perhaps this person has a natural tendency to attract spirits more than the others.
I guess they want you to play a game. Come over here, sit by me. They want you to play.
Whoa.
Come over.
These flashlights are turning on by themselves.
Later, Kevin is playing with an app on his phone that is supposed to communicate with ghosts when he gets some pretty interesting responses.
Is anybody in here? What's your name? My name's Kevin. What's your name?
Even if this app is programmed to say scripted phrases at random intervals, I do think it's odd that it says something similar to Kevin's name shortly after he introduces himself. Overall, Kevin is unable to verify that this location is haunted, though many of his viewers have decided it most likely is. Let me know what you think about this entry, and what other experiments Kevin and his friends could have done to summon any spirits. Number 3. The Bucket List Boys are an adventurous group of friends who are excited about taking the 24-hour challenge in an old haunted hospital. Most of the video is relatively normal until night falls and the atmosphere suddenly changes from playful to serious.
Justin, I know that was you.
Dude, what are you talking about? Right here.
Wait,
Shut up.
that wasn't you?
No, that was you. Stop playing it.
They quickly grow more and more nervous from mysterious sounds until eventually they just want to leave. They're trying to figure out a way when something that's just way out of place pedals across their path.
You remember which way it is?
No.
Did you hear that?
What?
What the? No.
A small red tricycle rides by and sends the Bucket List Boys running in the opposite direction at full speed. They're in such a hurry to escape whatever's behind them that one of them almost falls down a dark hole with no visible bottom. They barely make it out in time and never look back. Hopefully this was just a prank and nothing really followed them outside. Number 2. Derek Desso Daly finds himself in a darkened cemetery on a 24-hour challenge with some friends. There's only some basic snacks and a small flashlight to split between the 3 of them, but they feel confident nothing serious will happen. Derek barely gets into the cemetery, and already he hears strange sounds that I don't think can easily be faked.
I know that I don't see anything past this road. Oh, what's that sound?
Hey man, there's somebody walking right there, bro.
Where?
Derek claims to see someone off in the distance, though I personally don't see anything. Still, he turns off his flashlight and quietly walks away to avoid detection. Other than that, nothing else happens until around 3 a.m., at which point the strange sounds return, even louder this time.
Yeah, we have a Ouija board and we have a...
They start playing with the homemade Ouija board and think they see something move in the trees. Then they think they hear footsteps. It's hard to say if they are just being paranoid or really experiencing something paranormal, since nothing special is caught on camera. Later though, when they begin chanting a spell to speak with any nearby spirits, I can definitely hear what they are talking about. Eventually, one of them gets separated from the group and is covered in red when he returns. He claims to have fallen, but something about his story sounds off.
John, what happened? Something fell.
Something falling on its own seems quite unlikely, making the claim of paranormal activity even more plausible. The National Ocean Service estimates that we have only managed to explore 5% of the ocean. With this statistic in mind, it isn't hard to believe some of the creatures on this list really could exist. After all, who knows what is lurking amongst the undiscovered 95%?